10 years ago, you bought an air rifle to knock cans off a fence post. Today, if you buy the wrong air gun, you are throwing away serious money on a glorified toy when you could be holding a tool capable of putting meat on the table. The market has exploded, and it is flooded with cheap plastic garbage wrapped in slick marketing. I see guys dropping $1,000 or more on an air rifle setup, only to realize it cannot hold zero. The seals leak after a month, or it just lacks the kinetic energy to take down a simple pest cleanly. That is a costly, frustrating mistake, but it does not have to happen to you. There is a handful of highly accurate and user-friendly air guns on the shelves right now that are built to outlast your truck and hit with the authority of a rimfire. You just need to know exactly what you are looking for. Welcome back to the channel. Grab a cup of coffee and pull up a chair. We have a lot of ground to cover, and we are starting with a rifle that completely destroys the barrier to entry for big bore power. Let us dive in. We are kicking off our list at number 6 with the Umarex Gauntlet 2 SL in 30 caliber. Let us talk about where this rifle came from, because its history matters if you want to understand its true value. When the original Gauntlet hit the market several years ago, it completely disrupted the pneumatic airgun industry. Before that time, if you wanted a regulated air rifle, meaning every single shot fires at the exact same pressure for pinpoint consistency, you were looking at dropping well over $1,000. Umarex changed the math entirely. Now, with the Gauntlet 2 SL, they have taken that proven, heavily regulated platform and scaled it up to a 30 caliber beast with a side lever action. From a pure engineering standpoint, the SL designation is a massive upgrade. The old bolt action on the high-pressure gauntlets required some serious shoulder grease and awkward leverage to cock. The new side lever mechanism operates like a well-oiled machine. You can effortlessly cycle the next round with your cheek still, firmly welded to the stock, and your eye dead center on the scope. Underneath the barrel, it features a massive 24 cubic inch aluminum air tank that fills to 3,600 psi. Because the system is internally regulated at right around 1,900 psi, you are getting an incredible number of consistent, full power shots per fill. This brings us to why this rifle is on our list of the best air rifles of the year. The biggest mistake new air gunners make is buying a cheap, unregulated big bore rifle to save a few bucks. With those unregulated guns, the first shot hits high, the second shot might hit the bullseye, and the third drops into the dirt because the air pressure curve is all over the place. That inconsistency leads to missed targets, endless frustration, and worst of all, injured game. The Gauntlet 2 SL solves this problem permanently by delivering up to 25 perfectly regulated shots in 30 caliber, producing right around 99 foot-pounds of energy. That is more than enough kinetic energy to safely and cleanly anchor a coyote or a feral hog with a well-placed headshot. You are getting rimfire reliability without the noise or the heavy restrictions of a traditional firearm. Looking at the practical pros and cons, the value is simply unmatched. The side lever is incredibly smooth. The accuracy is impressive for the price bracket, and the onboard pressure gauge is easy to read in the field. It comes with a high-capacity rotary magazine that cycles flawlessly without chewing up your pellets. The main drawback is the physical weight, fully scoped and loaded. You are lugging around a very hefty piece of equipment, and the synthetic stock, while rugged and weather-resistant, does feel a bit hollow and plasticky in the hands. But at the end of the day, this is a working tool, not a museum piece. When it comes to the cost, the Umarex Gauntlet 2 SL has a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $329. But you can consistently find it on the market for around $319. If you think the Gauntlet brings serious power, wait until you see the compact sledgehammer we have sitting at number 5. Coming in at number 5 is a rifle that has been around the block but refuses to be dethroned. I am talking about the Benjamin Bulldog in .357 caliber. When you look at the history of big bore air guns, they have traditionally looked like long, cumbersome muskets that are difficult to carry and hard to balance. Crosman, operating under their Benjamin brand, decided to flip the script entirely. They built a bullpup big bore that looks like something out of a science fiction movie, but functions exactly like a blue-collar work truck. It has earned its stellar reputation deep in the woods, not just shooting from a bench at the target range. Let us dive into the mechanics of this platform. The Bulldog utilizes a bullpup configuration, which simply means the action and the magazine are located behind the trigger mechanism. This design choice allows Benjamin to pack a full 26 inches of barrel into a rifle that measures only 36 inches in total length. You get the ballistic advantages of a very long barrel without the unwieldy footprint. The cocking lever is fully reversible, meaning left-handed shooters are not left out in the cold. And the top of the receiver features 26 inches of continuous Picatinny rail for mounting heavy optics, thermal scopes, or night vision equipment. The sound baffle system integrated into the unique trapezoidal shroud helps tame the bark, though it still lets you know a serious projectile just left the muzzle. How does this solve our core problem? One of the most common mistakes hunters make when transitioning to air rifles for larger game is buying a gun that is simply too long and too heavy for dense brush or tight hunting blinds. Imagine you spot a feral hog. You try to swing your 50-inch rifle out the window of your blind. You bang the long barrel against the window frame, and the pig is gone before you can even acquire the target. The Bulldog solves this maneuverability nightmare. It gives you incredible short to medium range knockdown power, pushing up to 200 foot-pounds of energy. In a package that easily maneuvers inside a truck cab or a pop-up blind, you do not have to compromise on lethality to get a compact profile. Looking at the pros and cons, the biggest advantage is obviously its maneuverability. Combined with its devastating .357 caliber punch, the 5-shot rotary magazine sits completely flush inside the stock and cycles very reliably. It is a proven, robust system that rarely breaks down in the field. As for the cons, the trigger is a bit mushy, which is typical for many bullpup rifles due to the long, internal linkage connecting the trigger to the sear. It is also an absolute air hog. You are really only getting about 10 good, full power shots before you need to hook it back up to your compressor or carbon fiber tank. But for a dedicated hunting rig, you only need one good shot. For the pricing, the Benjamin Bulldog has a manufacturer-suggested retail price of $879, 99, though the current street price usually hovers right around $799, 99. The Bulldog is a beast in close quarters. But our number 4 pick is built to reach out and touch targets from the next county over. But before we get to that long-range specialist, let me give you fair warning. The top 3 guns on this list are going to challenge everything you thought you knew about what an air rifle is legally capable of taking down. And honestly, some traditional firearms guys are going to be seriously upset when they see the ballistic data. You will want to stick around for those. Moving into the number 4 spot, we have the Hatsan Factor Sniper L. Hatsan is a well-known Turkish manufacturer, famous in the industry for one specific trait, which is building brute force, high-power air guns. They have never been known for subtlety, but with the Factor Sniper L series, they combine their long-standing reputation for raw, bone-crushing power with tactical precision and highly adjustable ergonomics. This is not the old-school wooden brake barrel your grandfather used to shoot cans with. This is a highly engineered precision instrument designed specifically for pushing heavy lead slugs at extreme distances. Let us look at the engineering under the hood. The L in the name stands for long, and it definitely earns that title. It features a massive 30-inch barrel that is specifically choked and rifled to stabilize heavy, aerodynamic slugs rather than standard airgun pellets. It uses a high-capacity carbon fiber air bottle and an externally adjustable regulator. This means you can tune the air pressure on the fly without having to safely degas the entire rifle first. Combine that adjustable regulator with an externally adjustable hammer spring, and you have complete control over the harmonic tuning of your rifle. The tactical stock is fully adjustable for length of pull and cheek height, ensuring that once you are mounted behind the glass, you have absolutely zero muscular strain. This rifle directly addresses the fear of underperformance and unethical shots at long range. A major trap buyers fall into is purchasing a standard pellet gun, throwing a giant, expensive scope on it, and thinking they can ethically hunt at 100 yards. Standard pellets shed their energy rapidly and get blown off course by the slightest wind, leading to injured game and unethical hunting practices. The Factor Sniper L solves this by providing the specific barrel twist rates and extreme air plenum capacity needed to push heavy slugs at supersonic or high subsonic speeds. It delivers rimfire-level kinetic energy at distances where normal air rifles completely fall apart. It gives you the total confidence to take that 80 or 100-yard shot, knowing you have the ballistic coefficient and the energy to penetrate thick hide and heavy bone. Looking at the practical pros and cons, the pros are its massive adjustability, the incredibly high shot count provided by the carbon fiber bottle, and the sheer long-range lethality it brings to the table as one of the best air rifles of the year. The tactical aluminum chassis is incredibly rugged and weather-resistant. The main drawback is the overall weight and the massive footprint. This is a very long, very heavy rifle. It is strictly built for shooting off a bipod, a bench, or a solid barricade. It is not designed for shooting offhand while trekking 10 miles through the rough mountains. When pricing this long-range platform, the manufacturer suggested retail prices $1, 099, while the current market price is steadily sitting at $999, 99. We are stepping into the top 3 next, where the true heavyweights of the industry live. If you are watching from the living room couch, pull out your phone, open up the YouTube app, and let me know in the comments below which of these first 3 rifles you would choose for your own property. Coming in at number 3 is a platform that completely redefines the term brute force. I am talking about the Air Force Texan LSS in .50 caliber with the carbon fiber tank. Let us look at where this monster came from. Air Force Airguns is based right here in the States, and for years they have been the undisputed kings of the single-shot, utilitarian air rifle. When they released the original Texan, it shattered records for pneumatic power. The LSS version, which stands for Long Suppressed System, takes that heritage and turns it into a refined, big-bore hunting tool. From an engineering standpoint, the beauty of the Texan lies in its absolute simplicity. It uses an inline valve system. When you pull the trigger, a massive hammer directly strikes the valve on the carbon fiber air bottle, dumping a massive volume of air directly behind the projectile. There are no complicated linkages or transfer ports to restrict the airflow. The carbon fiber bottle allows for a much higher fill pressure than the older aluminum tanks, giving you a flatter shot string and slightly more usable shots. The entire barrel is encased in their sound lock moderation system, which does a surprisingly good job of muffling the massive blast of expanding air. So how does this platform solve our core problem? One of the most heartbreaking mistakes a hunter can make is bringing an underpowered tool to a big game hunt. I see guys trying to push the limits of small caliber pellet guns on whitetail deer or heavy hogs. That is how you end up tracking a wounded animal through the brush for 3 miles in the dark. It is unethical and frustrating. The Texan .50 caliber completely eliminates that fear. When you are launching a massive cast lead slug that generates upwards of 800 foot-pounds of kinetic energy, you are dropping animals right in their tracks. It provides the exact same confidence and terminal ballistics as a traditional centerfire pistol cartridge, but in a platform you can legally use in airgun-specific hunting seasons. It is one of the best air rifles of the year for serious hunters who refuse to compromise on ethical stopping power. Looking at the real-world pros and cons, the stopping power and the mechanical reliability are unmatched. It is built like a crowbar, and there is very little that can go wrong with it in the dirt and mud. The biggest drawback is that it is a single-shot rifle. If you miss, your follow-up shot is going to take several seconds of awkward fumbling to breach the action and load another massive chunk of lead. It is also incredibly long, making it tough to navigate in thick timber. For the pricing details, the Air Force Texan LSS .50 caliber carbon fiber model has a manufacturer-suggested retail price of $1,549, and the current market price stays very rigid at $1,599. $449. If the Texan is a heavy sledgehammer, our number 2 pick is a highly calibrated surgical instrument capable of adapting to any situation. Sitting firmly in the number 2 spot is the FX Dynamic. To understand this rifle, you have to look at how FX Airguns out of Sweden has constantly pushed the boundaries of what pneumatic technology can achieve. For years, the standard layout for high-end airguns was to stick a carbon fiber bottle directly under the barrel. FX recognized that the industry was shifting heavily towards shooting dense, heavy slugs at extreme distances, which requires a much more rigid barrel structure to handle the intense harmonics. The Dynamic is their ground-up redesign to master the heavy slug game. From an engineering perspective, the Dynamic is built entirely differently than its predecessors. It features an over-the-barrel air plenum. A plenum is essentially the waiting room for the pressurized air right before it gets dumped behind the projectile. By wrapping this massive plenum around the barrel, FX created a hyper-rigid system that practically eliminates barrel whip. It sits in an AR-style chassis that feels incredibly familiar. If you are used to modern sporting rifles, the dual-angled gauges let you monitor both your bottle pressure and your regulated pressure with just a quick glance. Why is the Dynamic the perfect answer to the problem we are discussing today? The biggest fear for someone dropping serious money on a high-end rifle is outgrowing it. You buy a rifle thinking you just want to shoot targets at 50 yards. But 6 months later, you want to push out to 200 yards, and your gun simply cannot handle the required slug weights. You are stuck, and you have wasted your money. The FX Dynamic solves this by offering unparalleled tuning capabilities. You can adjust the regulator pressure, the hammer spring tension, and the valve flow to perfectly match whatever weight and shape of slug you decide to shoot. It completely future-proofs your investment, securing its place as one of the best air rifles of the year. If your hunting or competitive needs change, the Dynamic changes right along with them. Looking at the pros and cons, the massive pro is the extreme accuracy at distances that make traditional rimfire shooters jealous. The chassis is robust, and the shot count from the rear-mounted carbon fiber bottle is excellent. The main con is the steep learning curve. This is not a rifle you just pull out of the box and shoot. It requires a solid understanding of pneumatic tuning. And if you start twisting dials without knowing what they do, you can quickly throw the gun out of tune. As for the financial investment, the FX Dynamic has a manufacturer-suggested retail price of $1,799, while the current street price sits steadily at $1,699. While the Dynamic represents the absolute cutting edge of slug technology, it still bows down to the undisputed king of the modern airgun world, sitting at number 1. Coming in at the number 1 spot is the undisputed heavyweight champion of the pneumatic world, the FX Impact. If you look at the history of modern airguns, there is a clear dividing line between the era before the Impact and the era after the Impact. When FX first introduced this platform, it completely shattered every preconceived notion of what an air rifle could be. It has dominated professional competition podiums and heavy brush hunting fields worldwide for years. It is the gold standard that every other manufacturer tries, and usually fails, to replicate. Let us break down the engineering marvel that makes this possible. The Impact utilizes a dual regulator system. The first regulator takes the extreme 3,600 psi from the carbon fiber bottle and drops it down to an intermediate pressure. The second regulator then refines that pressure to the exact, precise PSI needed for your shot. This ensures the lowest extreme spread in velocity of any rifle on the market. But the real magic is the smooth twist X barrel system. Instead of cutting rifling into the inside of a solid steel tube, FX presses the rifling into the barrel from the outside. This leaves an incredibly smooth internal surface that reduces lead fouling and increases accuracy to mind-bending levels. So why does the FX Impact take the number 1 spot for solving our core problem? The ultimate mistake you can make is buying the wrong caliber for the job, forcing you to buy an entirely second or third rifle down the road. The Impact is the ultimate, final solution to that fear. It is the most modular air rifle in existence. With a simple Allen wrench and about 3 minutes of your time, you can swap the barrel and the pellet probe. You can turn this exact same rifle from a whisper quiet 22 caliber backyard plinker into a devastating 35 caliber deer hunting rig. You are not buying a rifle. You are buying a lifelong platform. You will never make a bad purchasing decision again, because the gun can literally become whatever you need it to be at any given moment. That is why it is undeniably at the absolute top of the best air rifles of the year. Let us look at the pros and cons. The pros are endless. The trigger is match grade. The ergonomics are fantastic. The shot count is massive. And the accuracy is simply legendary. The one true con is the complexity. It has dozens of internal O-rings and incredibly tight tolerances. If you drop it in the mud or neglect basic maintenance, you are going to have a bad day. And fixing a leaking impact often requires a trained technician. For the final pricing details, the FX Impact has a manufacturer's suggested retail price of $2,199, and the current market price stands firm at $2,099. With the ultimate problem solver covered, let us wrap this up and get you ready for the field. We have covered a lot of ground today, looking at everything from budget-friendly heavy hitters to the absolute pinnacle of modular pneumatic engineering. The bottom line is that the tools available right now are incredible. But you have to remember the warning we talked about at the start. Buying an air rifle based on a flashy advertisement or a cheap price tag is the fastest way to throw your hard-earned money down the drain. You will end up with a leaking toy that cannot ethically take down game. You must match the tool directly to the task. Whether you are quietly managing pests around the grain, barn, or trudging through dense brush for heavy game, choosing from the best air rifles of the year ensures you are investing in a reliable platform that gets the job done right the first time. Do not settle for subpar equipment when field-proven solutions exist. What is the one job around your property that you have been trying to tackle with the wrong tool? And which of these platforms is going to finally fix that problem for you? If you're watching from the living room couch, pull out your phone, open up the YouTube app, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Gunforge, signing off.